Joining me now in the group chat, Joel Rubin, former Deputy Assistant Secretary of State and author of the briefing book on Substack, Jamil Jaffer, founder and executive director of the National Security Institute, and Susan Page, Washington Bureau Chief for USA Today. Susan, I want to start with you because the president reached out to multiple news reporters over the weekend and had little questions answered. And we heard slightly different reasons, timelines. Can you talk about what we heard?
Well, we heard what we have heard before in the buildup to this action, which is not a clear explanation of what the U.S. goals are or how they're going to be achieved or how long they'll take or what the price will be. So this conflict may last for days or perhaps 4 or 5 weeks. Experience says it will last longer than the administration thinks at the beginning. And I think the most critical question is, what is success? For President Trump, what will success look like? How does the war end now that it's begun?
Now, these are very important questions, and they strike at also the fault lines of Republican circles in general, right, when it comes to those who support U.S. intervention in the world versus not. And I do see some differences. The president is not promising nation building, period. He's not even promising, frankly, to help with a shift in regime. He's saying, you guys rise up and do that yourself. And there's no mission, like there's no discussion of humanitarian concerns driving it compared to, say, in Afghanistan. So what do you see in how he is trying to sell it? How are we starting to understand what this Trump doctrine is?
Well, the president talked about early on all the terrorist attacks that Iran has conducted over the years against American forces in the region, against American allies around the globe. He talked about the 1983 attacks in Beirut. He talked about Iran's potential involvement in the al-Qaeda attacks on the USS Cole.
Right. None of those are imminent to this moment, right? So already there's a difference.
No, that's exactly right. But then he also talked about the nuclear program, and he suggested slightly in his earlier speech that there might be new information about the nuclear program, and there might be new suggestions that it had restarted in some way. The problem, of course, is that you've heard from members of Congress who were briefed that they hadn't heard that. And so we're not sure whether, in fact, the administration has made that case to Congress, whether they have that case internally. They certainly haven't made it publicly. And so we'll see whether or not that's part of the equation. That would be the core of the imminent threat. But to be fair, Iran has been killing Americans for many, many years, including in Iraq and around the region, including as recently as a year or so ago when they hit American soldiers.
But we didn't hear anything during the State of the Union, right? We just had him come out in a baseball cap and say this is happening and that there could be losses and casualties. Can you talk about, as Congress sort of picks up the ball this week, I don't know if there's really much they can do.
Yeah, I mean, the hard reality of the congressional role in this is that there's going to be a lot of screaming. There will be a vote on the floor in both chambers. But the War Powers Resolution to stop this war, even if it passes, the margin won't be enough to override a presidential veto if it gets to President Trump's desk. And it likely won't, because the Senate probably will reject the resolution. And so this means we're now in a space where President Trump has his policy. And I got to be honest, this is not a new President Trump policy. This has been his view on Iran for well over a decade. Remember, he opposed the Iran nuclear deal when President Obama was negotiating it. He withdrew from it in 2018.
But he also said so many times on the campaign trail in interviews, we will not go to war with Iran. And in fact, sort of implied that either a Biden or Harris administration would be war-mongering.
Smart triangulation. He definitely conned a lot of his supporters into believing that.
Did you just say conned?
I did say that because, honestly, if they had been paying attention to Donald Trump and his rhetoric on Iran for many, many years, they would have known this is exactly where he wanted to go on Iran.
Let me answer that briefly. Conned, is that the right word?
Well, look, certainly the MAGA base did not expect President Trump to be in wars around the globe. They didn't expect him to replace Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela or conduct a decapitation strike in Iran. But I think Joel is right. The president has been clear on Iran. He didn't think the Obama nuclear deal was the right thing. He's right about that. He does think Iran is a serious threat to America and our allies in the region. He's right about that, too. Whether he's right that this effort will succeed in changing the regime in Iran or achieving peace for the U.S. and the region is something we'll see. But at the end of the day, but Donald Trump has been consistent on Iran. He's been opposed to the regime. He's right to be opposed to the regime. They are a terrorist regime. They've been killing Americans for years. And at the end of the day, the Iranian people will be better off if, in fact, they are able to rise up and replace the regime.
We're going to talk more about that because that is a massive question mark going into this week and, frankly, the next couple of weeks.